A 21-year-old boy stands on a hill outside the walls of the most heavily defended city on earth, and he makes a vow that will either crown him as a legend or bury him as a forgotten failure. Behind those walls, an empire that has survived for 1,100 years waits for him, confident that no army, no cannon, no boy sultan can break through stone that has never fallen in over 1,000 years of sieges. They are wrong. What happens over the next 53 days will rewrite the map of the world in the Middle Ages and turn a teenage ruler into the man history would call the conqueror. If you love your mom and dad, do me a favor right now and hit that subscribe button, because somewhere a mother is proud of the person you're becoming and showing her that love costs you nothing but a tap of your finger. In the spring of 1453, the city of Constantinople sat like a jewel between two seas, the last living piece of the Roman Empire, ruled by Emperor Constantine XI. For centuries it had been considered unconquerable. Its walls, built by Emperor Theodosius 1,000 years earlier, were a triple layer of stone and ditches so thick that armies from every direction had thrown themselves against it and simply broken apart. Persians failed. Arabs failed. Even the legendary Vikings who served as imperial guards swore the walls could never be breached by force. The city had survived plagues, earthquakes, and 23 sieges. It had earned its reputation as the city that does not fall. But inside the Ottoman court, a young sultan named Mehmed had been obsessed with this city since childhood. His tutors said he carried maps of Constantinople to bed with him as a boy, while his father, Sultan Murad II, had once tried and failed to take the city. Mehmed inherited not just the throne but an unfinished promise. When he took power at just 19 years old, the court whispered that he was too young, too reckless, too inexperienced to rule, let alone conquer what emperors twice his age could not. Mehmed heard every whisper, and he decided the fastest way to silence them all was to do the impossible. He started by building a fortress called Rumeli Hizari directly across the narrowest point of the Bosphorus Strait, cutting off any supply ships trying to reach Constantinople from the Black Sea. The Byzantines watched the construction in horror, realizing too late what it meant. Then Mehmed did something no one expected. He sought out a Christian engineer named Orban, a man who had originally offered his cannon-building skills to the Byzantine emperor first. Constantine, low on money, had turned him away. Orban walked straight to the Ottoman camp instead, and Mehmed paid him generously to build the largest cannon the world had ever seen, a monster of bronze nearly 27 feet long that could fire a stone ball weighing over half a ton. It took 60 oxen and hundreds of men just to drag it into position. This single rejected engineer, turned away by the very city he tried to save, would become one of the most important reasons that city eventually fell. On April 6, 1453, the Ottoman army arrived outside the walls, somewhere between 60 and 80,000 soldiers facing a defending force of less than 10,000 men inside Constantinople, many of them old, untrained, or foreign volunteers. The numbers alone made the outcome look certain. Then the bombardment began, and for the first time in history, gunpowder cannons rather than catapults and battering rams became the deciding weapon of a siege. Mehmed's massive cannon roared, smashing sections of the ancient wall that had stood since the days of Rome. Yet every night, exhausted Byzantine defenders rushed out under torchlight and rebuilt the broken stone with wood, rubble, and sheer desperation, undoing in hours what the cannon took all day to destroy. Weeks passed, and the city held. Then came the first major twist nobody saw coming. The Byzantines had stretched a massive iron chain across the entrance to the Golden Horn, the narrow harbor beside the city, blocking any Ottoman ships from sailing in to attack from the seaside, which was far less fortified than the land walls. Mehmed's fleet tried and failed to break the chain. Furious and humiliated in front of his own commanders, the young sultan came up with a plan so audacious that even his most loyal generals doubted it could work. He ordered his men to grease wooden tracks with animal fat and literally drag over 70 warships overland, up a hill, through forest, and down into the Golden Horn on the other side of the chain, bypassing the barrier entirely. In a single night, the impossible happened. The Byzantines woke up to find an entire enemy navy floating inside their protected harbor, a fleet that had seemingly sailed over solid ground. Morale inside the city shattered. If their walls were the last line of defense, The sight of ships crossing dry land told the defenders something far more frightening, that this enemy might simply find a way to do whatever he wanted. Still, Constantine refused to surrender, and the defenders fought with a courage that even Ottoman chroniclers admired. Among them was a Genoese mercenary commander named Giovanni Giustiniani, who had arrived with 700 trained soldiers and quickly became the backbone of the defense, personally commanding the most critical section of the wall. For weeks, his leadership held the line together. Then came the second devastating twist. On the final night of the siege, as the Ottomans launched their last full-scale assault, Giustiniani was struck by a projectile, some accounts say a crossbow bolt, others a piece of shrapnel, and badly wounded. He was carried away from the front lines to be treated. His own soldiers, seeing their commander removed, panicked and began retreating from their position, believing the wall was lost. Constantine personally rushed to that section to rally the remaining men, but the gap created by that single moment of chaos became the crack the entire empire would fall through. And then came the twist nobody in either army could have planned. In the chaos of the final assault, a small side gate known as the Kirkoporta, used for minor troop movements, had been left unlocked and was discovered open, likely due to confusion in the desperate final hours. Ottoman soldiers poured through this forgotten door before anyone could stop them, climbing the walls from the inside, raising their banners where no enemy banner had ever flown in the city's history. Word spread through the Ottoman ranks instantly, energizing a final furious wave of attackers, while panic tore through the defenders who saw enemy flags appearing where they should never have been possible. Emperor Constantine XI, realizing the city was lost, reportedly tore off the royal insignia that marked him as emperor so he would not be captured and humiliated, then charged directly into the advancing Ottoman soldiers alongside his remaining men. He was never seen again. His body was never confirmed with certainty, and to this day, historians still debate exactly how the last Roman emperor died, fighting anonymously in the very streets he had sworn to protect until his final breath. By the afternoon of May the 29th, 1453, after 53 brutal days, the city that had never fallen in 11 centuries belonged to a 21-year-old sultan. Mehmed rode through the gates himself, dismounted at the great cathedral of Hagia Sophia, and reportedly knelt down, taking a handful of dirt and pouring it over his own turban as a gesture of humility before God for the victory he had just won. He ordered the cathedral preserved rather than destroyed, transforming it into a mosque rather than reducing it to ruins, a decision that allowed one of the most magnificent buildings in human history to survive to this day. From that moment forward, he carried a new title that would follow him through every history book ever written. Mehmed the Conqueror, the boy the empire underestimated, the engineer they rejected, the chain they thought was unbreakable, and the gate nobody remembered to lock, all combining into the single event that ended the Roman Empire once and for all and opened the door to a new age of history. Historians still argue about what truly decided that battle. Was it the genius of dragging ships over land? Was it the rejected engineer who built the deadliest cannon of his era? Was it the wound that removed Giustiniani at the worst possible moment? Or was it simply an unlocked door that fate placed in exactly the wrong spot at exactly the wrong time? What is certain is that a teenage king with everyone doubting him became the man who closed the book on the ancient world and opened the next chapter of human history, all in 53 days that the world has never forgotten. So tell me, which part of the country are you watching this from right now? Drop your city or state in the comments. I would love to see how far this story traveled.